Hi everyone. I just wanted to start off with uh, saying that let's try to finish this course. Uh, this is the third video, and you can go back and watch the previous two videos, or you can continue with this video as well. So this has got no prerequisites actually. So we'll be just talking about another major component while you're trying to answer uh, any case solving interviews, right? So before we jump into the topic itself, I just wanted to say that you have probably already finished this 20% of this course. If you haven't, you can uh, watch this video and then go back to the previous videos later also. It's fine. Uh, but anyways, let's promise ourselves that we will continue watching watching the videos of this course, and I will promise myself to keep recording videos and complete this series of 10 videos. This will definitely help you guys to understand how can you structure your thoughts and answers for solving any product cases, right? That is what we are trying to do, solving product cases. So let's jump into uh, you know wait, let's not jump into that. I just wanted to say one more thing. The idea of this whole lecture series is you never jump into solutioning whenever you come across a problem statement. Whenever you get a problem statement, you have to first understand the problem and then jump into solutioning, right? Never jump into solutioning directly. But as beginners, we never know how to do that, right? How can we understand the problem first? We know that we have to ask clarifying questions, but uh, around what topic should we ask questions, right? So that is what we are going to discuss. We are going to discuss about one of the major seven components. As you can see here, the seven components I have listed. In previous video, we covered scope. In this video, we'll be covering users. These are the seven components around which we can ask clarifying questions. And there is no specific set of questions you can ask. It's mostly like you ask five questions around each of these components. So it will be total 35 questions, right? What will happen is out of these 35 questions, maybe four or five questions will be very relevant, and you will get data out of the interviewer. Once you have that kind of a data, you can go into solution. So this is the whole idea. I'll repeat: ask three to four questions about each component, and then it will be total 20 or 30 questions, right? Now, once that is done, interviewer might have data for 5 or 10 questions. With those data, you can understand more about the problem, and then you will naturally understand where you should focus to get the solution, right? So this particular idea is not about getting the right answer. It is more about having a direction to go when you are giving your interview. Okay, so let's discuss about users. So in for any product, you have to think about users, right? But how do you do that? What exactly should we think about users? Should we think about their daily life? Should we think about their occupation? Should we think about their salary? How much they can pay for our product, right? What exactly should we think of? What is the starting point, right? Where should we start? So understanding this will really help you in any kind of product cases, because users is one of the major component of any product. Like you cannot build a product without thinking about users. I mean, you can, but that product will probably be an unsuccessful product, a failed product, right? So where should we start about users? You should always start about their pain points. When I say pain points, these are issues they face and they try to solve it in real life and they are not able to solve it. Nobody else is helping them to solve it. And that is when you have to come with a product and tell them, okay, I have a solution right now, you can use this to solve your pain point. And that is how you make users happy, right? This is the idea of any product. So let's take an example, Airbnb. What are they solving? They are solving a real pain point of travelers. uh, they want to stay at some homes, not exactly hotels, and they want to experience the local, you know, events or whatever it is, right? They want to explore the local events. They need to have that kind of experience, and that is what Airbnb is trying to solve. And what are they solving for the host? The host actually does not know who is coming, right? They don't have the um, marketing channel to tell everyone in the world that, okay, I have a home here, you can come and rent it out, right? Like usually host does not have that kind of a uh, marketing channel. So Airbnb is helping the host to solve that one pain point. And another pain point they are trying to solve is the trust. Like host does not know who is coming into their home. So Airbnb is trying to solve that using their product, using the ID verification, reviews, etc. So you get the point, right? They are thinking deeply about their users, and they have a priority order for the pain points. For travelers, we are going to solve this. For hosts, we are going to solve this. So Airbnb does have a priority order of pain points. Uh, so this is in real life and in interview as well. You really have to think about the user. What pain points do they have, right? That is one thing which I mentioned. Uh, Sorry, I'm just trying to take the pen. Okay, yeah. So this is that first point we were talking about. Okay. Now, what is the second point? Second point is basically uh, think in terms of segments. Just now, in the previous example of Airbnb, I mentioned two segments. One is travelers, and another is host. Right now, how can we segment the travelers again? Are all travelers similar? Probably not. I can segment the travelers in terms of their spending capacity, or I can spend the travelers in terms of their frequency of travel, or I can uh, segment the travelers in terms of whether they are single or whether they have travel with a family, right? So if you notice, the first one was spending capacity, right? The second one was frequency of travel. The third one was whether they are bachelors or family. I mean, family people, right? So in these three criteria I used, when I use this criteria, I can immediately come up with three segments or four segments of a different type of travelers according to those criteria. And these travelers will behave very, very differently. I'll give you an example. So let's say I'm segmenting the travelers in terms of spending capacity. And how do I do that? I think I'll create three segment of users. One is high spending, one is medium spending, one is very low spending, budget travelers, right? So these three travelers, these three segment of travelers will behave very, very differently. Because of that, they will actually have very, very different set of problems. They will have different set of pain points, and that's the whole idea of segmenting users. Like you can actually say that every person is different, but it's not very practical to come up with 10,000 segments, right? Instead you come up with two or three segments, maybe four segments, right? Which you can easily categorize, and every other user will come in one of those segments, right? So the idea is to segment the users with some criteria, so that each segment of users will behave bit differently. They have a different set of problem, different set of pain points, right? And from those pain points, you will derive use cases. For example, one segment I mentioned was bachelors, right? People who don't travel with family. And if these people are uh, boys, right? Boys or men who are bachelors, they don't really care about the safety. They usually will be caring about the uh, experience they are having, right? Like if they can get a home which does not even have any neighbors, a home which is very isolated in one island or on a hilltop, they might actually prefer that. But if you are thinking about a traveler who is traveling with family, they might not prefer that. They might actually prefer that in a good neighborhood, right? So you see the use cases, right? From the pain points, actually you can come up with those use cases. And for each segment of users, it might be very, very different. So that's the idea of segmenting users. That is the reason why we have to segment users, because according to that segment, the problem will be very, very different. And because of that, the solution we offer will be also very different. So in an interview, especially in product case solving, you have to think of users. Now let's look at one example. Okay, so let's forget the Airbnb example. We'll start with a new example. Let's think about LinkedIn. Now LinkedIn have different type of users. Like the there are people who are recruiting others, recruiters, right? There are people who are posting very frequently. We can call them influencers. There are people who look for a job seekers, and there are people who just use LinkedIn to read the posts, right? So we can call them regular users, I think. Now I just came up with four segments, right? I can still divide one segment out of this four. I can still divide that one segment into smaller segments. And you see that in this window, right? The segment is actually job seeker, but you can still divide it into micro segments. So the more uh, zoomed in version you go, the more clarity you will have in terms of needs or pain points of users. So let's say a job seeker who's in his mid career, what will be his needs? He actually need a salary filter. He will need some remote options, right? A job seeker who's a fresher, he might not need a salary filter. He's actually looking for some kind of experience, so probably he's looking for internships. He's looking for resume help. He's looking for quick apply because he need to apply to 1000 or 2000 different uh, job openings, right? And he doesn't really care about what exactly they offer, right? He doesn't have too many filters, so he might not need that much filters. A job seeker who's a freelancer, he might be looking for gigs. He might not look for internship. He won't be looking for salary filter or remote options, etc. He'll be looking for gigs. He'll be looking for client reviews, right? He'll be looking for flexible hours. You see the difference, right? These all three are basically job seekers, people who are looking for jobs, but their needs are very, very different. uh, the solutions or the features you offer should be very, very different then, right? So that's the whole idea of segmenting users, and that is one part of understanding users. This is one major part, so I just took some 10 minutes time, sweet time, to explain this, because this is a very major part. Like uh, now we look into another example, but here I won't be uh, telling you guys what exactly, how exactly you should make the micro segments. Take the previous example of Airbnb. Now one segment I have done it is traveler, right? Now, what were the criteria we mentioned? One was family, one was pending. Yeah. So let's take criteria of segmentation. We have to segment this traveler into microsegments. So I have mentioned three criteria, I think. Let's take this particular criteria, which is uh, frequency of travel, right? Now, if this is the frequency of travel is the criteria, how do I segment the users? Once in a year is one kind of user. Uh, Once in a quarter is, or once in 6 months is another kind of user probably. Once in a quarter, let's keep it like that. Once a month. So this is someone who is probably looking for very high budget travel. I don't know. I'm just assuming, okay? And this traveler who travels once in a quarter, once in 3 months, right? He might be looking for mid budget, and he might be looking for something a bit, you know, casual as well. So, what are the needs this traveler is going to have? What about the person who travels once a month? So, I want you guys to come up with the needs. How does the needs of each traveler differ? So, this is a homework example. I'm not going to give the answer for this because let's make this a bit proactive, right? So, uh, you can comment what are the needs of each traveler. You can actually comment that, or uh, you can take this as a homework, right? Just a practice. Okay. I hope you took a screenshot, or you will pause here and think about this for a bit. And I am moving on. Now, how to segment users? So I just mentioned we can use some criteria to segment users. One criteria I used was the frequency of travel. Another was spending capacity, right? So just like that, we can have like so many other criteria to segment users. I have mentioned five criterias uh, that can be generally used in any problem. The other criteria I mentioned here might not be like you cannot use it in every case, but this five criteria, you can probably use it in any case. So feature usage is basically any product will have different features, and you can categorize the users in terms of uh, you know, like a set of users who are frequently coming into the product. We can call them power users, right? Another set of users who are not that frequent, another set of users who are almost dormant, right? So you can, with this criteria, you can segment the users in three. And according to the user needs as well, you can do that. According to the geography, according to the demography. Demography is basically age, gender, etc. And you can think of users in this terms as well: existing versus new user. And this particular segmentation sometimes become really, really important in root cause analysis problems, because sometimes the issue happens because of new users, or maybe uh, only for existing users, something like that. So this is something beginners usually uh, forget doing. They miss this particular criteria. So I'm just noting it down here so that you guys don't miss it. Okay. Other criteria can be city of residence, tier 1, tier 2, right? So in case of a problem statement regarding Zepto or Rapido, like the tier one users will have a very different set of needs and constraints, right? So you get the idea, right? Disposable income, earning capacity, language. These are all criteria that you can use to segment the users. So I hope that is also clear. So I'll move on. Okay, so this is an example. Let's look at this example. Uh, this is a problem statement you might get, and this problem statement is basically a product design type of problem. You have to design an MVP for a mobile app that encourages peer-based community-driven learning. So the first thing, as we usually should do, the first thing is look at the keywords. One thing is design, another thing is MVP, and for a mobile app, it's fine. And another thing is peer-based and community-driven learning. Let's take some 2 seconds to look at these keywords again. Okay. Okay. Now, how do you think of the users of this particular app? How do you think of the users? Users are basically learners, right? Now, how do you segment the users? What are the segments you can use? Any idea? Okay, one way I can do is whether they are, yeah, according to the age, I can do that. That can be one criteria. Another criteria can be their profession, right? Another criteria can be what do they want to learn, right? That is another criteria. I'll give you examples as well. So let's say if this is the age is the criteria, we have to think of different age groups. Let's say teenagers, right? Another set is college students. Another set is people who are professionals. Another set is uh, like more than 50 or 60 years of age. So each of them will have different set of problems. Like teenagers will have issues like how do they trust the members in the community, right? So parents, there should be some kind of parental control or something like that. If the set of users are college students, they might be looking for something very specific, like they want to learn something specific. They want to learn something to get a job, right? Probably that's how it works. And if they are professionals, they might be either looking for jobs or they might be looking for learning something in the side. They already have a job, so in the side they want to learn something, and this learning can be anything like cooking, swimming, or uh, chess, right? Anything, it can be anything. So we haven't mentioned what exactly uh, this learning means, right? Is it learning a subject, learning a language? What is it? What exactly is that? So we can also categorize the users in terms of that as well, or we can categorize the users in terms of profession. This can be software developers, or it can be laymen, uh, or it can be teachers, or this can be doctors, right? Engineers. I don't know. So this is another way we can segment. So when you try to come up with these segments, then you understand which criteria is better. So in these three examples, I think this criteria is much better than profession, because in this criteria we get to categorize the users uh, in a good way, that each category will have very different set of uh, problems, right? Here doctors and engineers might have the same problem, but in this case, if they want to learn cooking, they have a very different set of problems, right? So this is how we are thinking of uh, segmenting the users. So we talked about that segments, right? I'll just show you what this is. Okay. So once we segment the users, we have to select one segment out of those. Let's say we were segmenting in terms of profession. Then we have to select one target segment. Let's say doctor. Or in this case, if the criteria is what to learn, right? Let's say they are trying to learn different languages. If that is one segment, we have to select one target user segment. This is the next idea. We have to think of this target user segment at least, right? You have to ask, you have to talk to the uh, interviewer regarding the target user. Uh, because you cannot solve every pain point of all the segment of users, people who are trying to learn new language and people who are trying to learn cooking. You cannot solve everything for all the segments. You have to actually pick one segment and then try to solve their problem. So that is how you should always think, right? uh, because of that, you have to select one target segment and then think about their current solution. What solution they use, what problems do they face, and what are their motivation. So the idea is to not uh, state these items directly. Instead, you can think of segments first, like I said, and you can come up with some criteria, and then you can ask the interviewer, I'm thinking of this criteria, and I'll probably pick up this criteria. Does that sound good? And he might say, yeah, it's good. So then you go ahead. Then you segment the users into 4 or 5, and then select one target segment. And then you again talk to the interviewer saying, okay, I think this is, I will go with this segment because of this reason. I think this segment have more earning capacity, or I think this segment have more number of users, or maybe another reason can be this segment has a very low hanging problem, like it's very easy to solve. So I'll go with this first since it's an MVP. You need to have some kind of reason. That's it. Once you do that, once you talk to the interviewer and decide a target user, then uh, you think about the current solution they have, you think about the problems they face, and then the motivation. So this is how you think about users. So usually what happens is this whole discussion about the users, uh, you'll get probably 20 minutes time to solve a case, right? Out of that, you will have 5 minutes probably to clarify, ask these kind of questions. So you have to, in 5 or 7 minutes, you have to really ask few questions about all these components. This is the second component. So you will probably get some 1 minute or less than 2 minutes time. I'm not saying this is always the case. You can take more time. It's actually fine. But generally speaking, you take some 2 minutes time on users. So you quickly ask about the segments, then think of the problems they face. If you have any confusion, you can actually take more time on that. It's fine. But the idea is never forget to do this, because if you are solving for the right users, uh, I mean, you are showing that you have a right product mindset. You are showing the interviewer that you are thinking about scope, then you are thinking about users, right? So that is what matters in interview, especially in beginner level interview. So we are not going to solve that previous problem statement. I just wanted to show you how I think about users. So this is another problem statement that you can try. Here I would ask you to think about the keywords first, then users as well. So the problem statement is this. It's a data and metrics type. It's not about design strategy or product growth. It's about data and metrics. This is a root cause analysis problem. So user watch time on YouTube Shorts has dropped by 25% in the last 2 weeks despite no major UI or algorithm changes. You have to understand the root cause. This is the problem. I don't want you to solve the problem right now, but I want you to think about the keywords and the users. Okay, so I hope you will do that. You can pause this right now and go ahead and take some 2 minutes, 3 minutes time to think about this, or maybe even 5 minutes time. Now that's a homework you have. Okay. Okay. So now what have we done? We have discussed about the users in this video, and previously in the previous video we have discussed about the scope as well. And like that we have more components. As we go ahead, you will understand that okay, once I have this understanding, I have a proper structure to start the whole uh, case solving. Like you shouldn't jump into solution. You can start with these components. You can start asking questions to the interviewer, probably 5 questions each, right? Ask 5 questions about the users. Who are, what are the segments, who are the target segment, what are their pain points, what are their motivations, what are their current solutions. So these are like quickly these are the 5 questions, right? And you can ask these questions and understand more about the users. That will really help you. What is the root cause, or really help you in coming up with a strategy. So we'll be discussing after this, covering these components, we'll be discussing about the 4 types of uh, product cases. And 90% of the time, sorry, 90%. So 90% of the time, these are the 4 types they'll ask to a beginner level PM. Like there are some behavioral questions or leadership questions. Usually they ask only for senior roles. For a beginner, this is enough. And what matters is the structure you have, the way you solve the problem. You don't have to get to the right solution always. You cannot do that because product management, it's not an objective kind of thing. It's very subjective. But structure is what matters. So I'm trying to give you the structure, right? I hope you will follow, or will uh, follow up on this. And uh, before closing this, I want to congratulate you because we have completed the third one as well, third session, sorry, third video as well. And congrats on completing this video. You are 30% in. It's only 70 more, 70% to go. Okay, you have completed this much. So I hope uh, you will be waiting for the next video as well. We'll be talking about the next component, which is timeline. So see you all there in the next video. Bye bye.